it was that night over dinner when I think when we were having a conversation about your experience at Anderlecht at FC Copenhagen. I think you told me a story about a 16-year-old boy who went on to make a debut under you at Anderlecht. And I think this story really struck with me. And I think it's going to be a great story for our listeners as well, because I think it's very inspiring and it has a lot of takeaways. So I think we can start today's podcast by you maybe reciting that story for us once again.
Well, I would say I wasn't ever expecting that a single decision that you can make as a senior professional coach could have such an impact. You, as a coach, you take decisions, some are normal, seen from the public, from the fans, from the media. Some seem not so normal. I think mainly as a senior coach, you need to take a decision that is best for the team, that is best for the player involved. And afterwards, everything seems always so simple to explain. You should have done it. You shouldn't have done it. Whatever. As I said, I was maybe not aware that taking the decision to have a youngster of 16 years old and 2 weeks just being allowed to take part in the professional game would have had such an impact mainly on the player itself.
So firstly, let's dive into that experience, right? Why did you decide to give this player? And of course, you can reveal who the player is at the end of this. But why exactly did you decide to take this decision on a 16-year-old? And then, how did that pay off for you as a manager?
Well, first of all, although football is a team sport, you take into account the individual qualities, both mental, social, and the football qualities of a player. Every week I went to see the second team, and I saw there a player who still had a lot to learn, but who had, and certainly as a striker, one major quality. It happened that you didn't see him for a whole game, except 1 or 2 times present in the box and scoring goals. That's one of the 2 major items, purposes of football: avoiding goals and scoring goals. So at that moment, you don't take into account the age of a player. You simply take into account what you see, hoping that what you see is what you get. Yeah. And from a young player, everyone says always it is a promising player. He will make it, and so on. And still, when you take the decision to include that player in your game selection, everyone is so amazed, and even some were a little scared and saying, will he be able to bring that on that level? And the answer is simple: as long as you don't bring him, you don't know it. Yeah. So the only way to know it, of course, without taking any risks, not for yourself as a coach, because it's a risky job and it remains a risky job, but simply for the player, for his future, and for the team. Moreover, in this special circumstance, when I decided to take the player in the game squad, we had to play a decisive game at the end of our regular competition. The 2 first teams were equal as 2 points. And so we had to play 2 trial games. And the first one ended on a draw at home. So it was 1-1. So anything that could happen in the return game, we knew we had to score goals. So when making my analysis, I said to myself, I think that all ingredients are there to give the opportunity to the player to be present. And we'll see, according to how the game is running, when he has to come into the game, if he needs to come into the game, in which circumstances, and so on.
Right.
And this is what happened. And of course, afterwards, when that player makes a starting first a good career on the level of the Belgian major league, and afterwards makes an international career, it seems to have been a good choice. That's simple.
Absolutely. So just for our listeners who do not know which player we're talking about, this is Romelu Lukaku we're talking about, a player who is, gone on to play for some of the leading clubs around the world, from Chelsea, Manchester United, Inter Milan, and back to Chelsea again. So I think this was a very inspiring story back then when I heard it as well, that, to take a chance on such a young player. Of course, there are a lot of external factors that you need to analyze as well. But I think it's really taking that risk, going for it. And then today, you have a player who overall has £300 million in transfer fees almost. Thanks for listening in. So much to learn and so much to absorb from that episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Catch us again on the DPDL Talent Development Podcast as we bring to you another episode with a leading expert. Until then, we'd love to hear from you. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or shoot us an email at developmentleague@doublepass.com. Take care and see you next time.